Hello and welcome to the Yom Iyun podcast, where we analyze aggados from Shas, the more homiletic allegories and textual expoundations of the Talmud. I wanted to give a postscript about Ashmedia because it's such a powerful Gemara, as well as speak about some parallels and additions from a famous Gemara of Isbibnov. It is Sanhedrin Tzadi Hey Amud Aleph 95a. For those of you who want to check it out, famous Gemara, and we shall go through it in this episode. First of all, I wanted to mention some nuggets, thoughts about the Ashmedia Gemara. Something important that I wanted to really mention and emphasize is that this Ashmedia being the dark side of the human that we're supposed to get in order and harness, it really reminds me of what I see in psychotherapy. A person will mention a lot of problems that they have. Usually it has to do with one main issue, or it could be two or three, but the core issue of that person and their challenges in life. The trauma they've had, the family habits that they've had, how their personality relates to the world and the conflicts that they've had, something core that they need to fix or to harness. So we're talking about Ashmedia being the sum total of the unhealthy parts of the human, the dark side, the nefesh habahamus, the animal soul or the evil inclination. We mentioned it's a hara, not necessarily causing evil, but causing physical, temporal things, broken things, limited things within this world. It's really subsumed in what I'm explaining, and it cannot be underemphasized. So usually people will have all these issues. Those are all the little demons, male and female demons, relating to men and women and giving and taking, and then capturing a female demon, getting those in order, and then leading up to Ashmedia. That is the whole metaphor, no pun intended, of the Ashmedia, the root of destruction that we must harness in order to build. Furthermore, with Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, the Gemara in Sanhedrin 21b, and it's also, I believe, in Megillah, it says, Rabbi Yitzchak says, and probably you're at Yitzchak because Gevura is about self-control versus stopping outward things at the right time. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Gevura master, when King Solomon married Pharaoh's daughter, the Malach, the angel, Gabriel, and he's about punishments and fire and delineating and giving power to the wrong side. Gabriel descended from heaven and implanted a pole in the sea. Gradually it raised up as a sandbar, and an island in the great city of Rome was built on it. The whole boot, as the Italians say, the boot of Rome and Italy was built. This shows that the beginning of the Jewish people's downfall to Rome came with King Solomon's marriage to Pharaoh's daughter. Basically, it's the beginning of the end. The Davidic dynasty begins to descend, and whenever Jews are down, Western world, the descendants of Esav, are raised up. And that would be the ultimate downfall when they're officially in charge. As we said in Gittin, the dismantling of the Jewish people the first time through Rome. So, we mentioned, it doesn't say that King Solomon married this aristocratic matching Jewish woman that would harness his personal, intimate energies, his identity, and go forth properly. It was unfettered. The Midrash said it. Energy is loose. And when energy is loose, emotional energy, psychic energy, it will lead to destruction, unfortunately. It has to be harnessed. And I had in my notes here that the Maharsha writes, this whole thing happened before he married King. This is before King Solomon married her. This is after. So before King Solomon married her, gold, lo haya kesef nechshav leuma. Kesef was not anything, and afterwards it was worth something. As it says, Shlomo, Bekanos bina mekesef nibchar avo mishnas bas paro miat chachma riba. He had less chachma after he married the daughter of Paro, and he had more meals and pleasures. So money, silver wasn't worth nothing. It was worth something, albeit expensive. And it's even more than that. The Maharsha continues in the next Divrei HaMaskil, the next section. This was before the Avera of Avodah Zarah. Right when they got married, she brought in lots of animals and singers and servants, etc., etc. Look over there. Eventually, Gabriel comes, and he's the one that delineates self-control or punishment, giving power to the other side. Essentially, this gives a little more chronology to what happened. I thought King Solomon was wealthy. He had a different personality than King David, Dovid HaMelech, and he indulged and checked out this world, and then he saw that Torah was the right way. Spirituality, commandments were the right way. It was really a sequence. It all goes together. His decision not to marry his main queen as a Jewish aristocrat, marrying the daughter of Paro right away, that's when she brought in all the feasts and the pleasures and the servants and Avodah Zarah. So he tried to repudiate, King Solomon tried to repudiate idolatry, but then he did that for a while. It came back, but he still indulged in all the pleasures because of his wife. And this led to the challenges with Ashmedia, the inner demon, the pleasures, the challenges with arrogance, challenge with pleasure, challenge with jealousy. And jealousy doesn't mean petty jealousy, to look at others and to compare yourself. So he needs the throne to be a certain way, and power and might. The delving into the physical world is what I would say, and all the problems that comes with it. Ashmedia saying, one day you will be 6 feet under. And him realizing he has to have the Koheles mentality or the Mishle mentality to have the wisdom and to have the proper view of the world being temporal. Death will come. The only thing that lasts is commandments. Those are beautiful additions there. Okay, so now we're moving on a little bit to inner shadow, the inner Yetzer Hara we have to conquer, and how we conquer the outer Yetzer Hara, our problems with the outside world. Psychologists have theorized that a person needs to conquer that inner darkness before they can individuate this important process of growing up and leaving home, leaving the anxiety soup of your family, leaving the enmeshment, being stuck within your family, the bad habits, taking the good habits and leaving the bad habits, being yourself. And person has to break your persona. People have personas, false identities. You can't be somebody else. You have to conquer the shadow within, drop false identities, be yourself, and individuate. Become an independent person. I think all of those ideas are kosher within the Torah psychology. I don't agree with Carl Jung and everybody about all the descriptions of the shadow, individuation, the persona, but those descriptions I said just now, I believe, are appropriate with these aggados and with philosophy of Chazal. And that dovetails with the following Gemara. Let us turn to the story, Sanhedrin, Tzadi, Hayamad Aleph, 95a. Dovid HaMelech, King David, went hunting. So he had a military leader named Avishai ben Tzeruiah, eldest of David's children. His sister was Tzeruiah, commander and most honored. These are in the Psukim. He mentions them, Shmuel Beis, and also later in Shmuel Beis, Samuel 2, Perek Chaf Aleph, chapter 21, Pasuk Tes Vav, 15, Tes Zayin, 15 and 16. It says that the Plishtim, the evil Philistines, had war with Israel. And Dovid HaMelech went down. The servants went with him. He fought against the Philistines, and King David waxed faint. He became faint. So, one question is, these are the psukim here. These are the sentences. How is it that Dovid HaMelech being faint, and then Pasuk 16 and 17, Avishai ben Tzeruiah smiting Isbibnov leads to this whole story. Dovid HaMelech is faint. There's a giant fighting against them, and then Dovid HaMelech's trusted general, who's part of his entourage, his military phalanx. How is it that it leads to this whole story? In the pshat level, How does one equal the other? And in the midrash level, why do Chazal, write this whole allegory to be contained in those sentences? That's our question today. So 16, Ishbibnov, who was the son of the giant, and the weight of his spear was 300 shekels of brass in weight, being girded with new armor. He thought to have slain David. So he planned to slay him, imagined. 17, Yud Zayin. But Avishai, son of Truya, succored him, meaning he assisted him, smote the Philistine, and killed him. Then the men of David swore to him, saying, You will not go to war with us anymore, that thou quenched not the lamp of Israel. So we don't want to destroy the Davidic dynasty. Dovid HaMelech will not go to war. And then the Gemara brings these psukim. It brings Ishbibnov, giant, 300 shekels of brass, girded with armor. He wanted to slay David. Notice the parallel with Ashmedia Gemara. Ashmedia had 300 demons in his area. And we have this awful enemy. So the Gemara continues, what is the meaning of Ishbibnov? Rabbi Yehuda says, in the name of Rav. Why does he say this statement? Why is he the one? That's our theme in these, one of our threads in these classes. He was a man, Ish, who came to punish Dovid HaMelech over matters of Nov. Remember Nov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God said to Dovid HaMelech, until when will this sin be concealed in your hand? Through your hand, Nov, the city of Kohanim, was massacred. The priests were massacred. And through your actions, Doeg the Edomite was banished from the world to come. He acted improperly and he was punished. Through your actions, Shaul and his 3 sons were killed. Is it your desire that your descendants will cease to exist, or you be handed in the hands of the enemy? Dovid HaMelech said, Rabbanu Shalom, Master of the universe, it is preferable that I be handed into the hands of my enemy and not have my descendants cease. A very selfless act. So any questions here? Why 300? Why are the Plishtim in the aggadah? How do they make their way in here? What do they symbolize? What's their message? Why do they attack us? On a pshat level and on a philosophical level. Continue. So one day, Dovid HaMelech went hunting with the falcon. Question. So is this a Jewish activity? Is this normal for Jewish kings to hunt? Is it a Jewish kosher activity? Why would he be doing this? So, Satan came and appeared to him. Look at that. Satan himself. So we don't believe in this Satan, lahavdil, as other nations do. But there is some sort of force that is God with a hand puppet, or God gives existence to. Satan, adversary, appeared to him as a deer, and Dovid HaMelech shot an arrow at the deer. The arrow did not reach it, the deer. So Satan drew out Dovid HaMelech until he reached the land of the Plishtim. And when Ishbibnov, who was there, saw Dovid HaMelech, he said, this is that person who killed Goliath, my brother. David killed Goliath. So don't forget, Ishbibnov is a giant in the Philistines area. He is not a man literally in the Nov city, but that's his name. Why is that? We had a little drasha before. Let's keep darshaning it. So he grabbed Dovid HaMelech. That's me saying that. He bound him up, doubled him over, and put him on the ground, cast him under the beam of the olive press, which is very heavy, as you know from the Gemara, tried to crush Dovid HaMelech. There was a miracle, and the earth opened up beneath him, so Dovid HaMelech did not die. So even though he's in the hands of the enemy, he still has a shkacha pratis, blessing of divine providence. And this is the pasuk in Tehillim that Dovid HaMelech wrote, you have enlarged my steps beneath me, my feet did not slip. So Kadosh Baruch Hu enlarged the physical ground. That day, at dusk, was Erev Shabbos, and Avisha ben Sruya was shampooing his hair. Okay, let's see if there's any questions we have on here. So we know that the Satan, Reish Lakish says, Satan, he is the evil inclination, he is the angel of death. So how is it in our Gemara? Why is this Dovid HaMelech's evil inclination drawing him with the deer? Is it the angel of death trying to kill him? Is it the Satan? Is it a sort of like judge, jury, and executioner, witness, provocateur, witness, and jury and executioner, all in one, trying to harm Dovid HaMelech? What does it mean that the evil inclination or the angel of death has to do with this hunting expedition? Okay. And is Dovid HaMelech allowed to go hunting? Why would he not have self-control to stop? He sees a sign that says, 2 kilometers, the Philistines. Time to head back if I don't have my army. Why would he go there all alone? Okay. Shot questions, not Midrash questions. Okay. We'll get Midrash answers. So his trusted general, Avisha ben Surya, parallel, again, to Benyahu ben Yehoyada. He had a trusted general in the Ashmedia Gemara. He was shampooing his hair on Erev Shabbos, and he saw 4 blood stains. So what is the... I'll ask a Midrash type of question. What is the metaphor of shampooing hair? It's a Erev Shabbos, stressful time, 4 blood stains, and some people say a dove came and fluttered its wings before him. Avishai said, the congregation of Israel is likened to a dove, as it says, you shall shine as the wings of a dove covered with silver, Tehillim, and her pinions with yellow gold. He concluded that Dovid HaMelech is in trouble. He came to Dovid HaMelech's house, and he saw that Dovid HaMelech was not there. We know that you cannot ride on the king's horse, not sit on the throne, or use a scepter. In a time of danger, what's the halacha? They said to him, you can use his things in a time of danger. So he used the king's mule. So why did he use the king's mule? Is it just because he wouldn't use his most honorable animal, a horse? He would just use his mule instead? Or is there some sort of metaphor? We know that the Ramchal writes about chamor. Somebody uses a chamor. It's more of a physicality. So what's this whole Preda thing? Okay. He mounted the king's mule and arose and went to the land of the Philistines. The land contracted for him, and that's the next Gemara, Kfitza Sederach. The land contracted to him. It was like a warp drive when they theorized that spaceships can go much farther if they contract the space beneath them. Warp drive. So Abishai saw Orpah as he was walking with Ishbibnov's mother. Orpah, as we know at the beginning of the Rus story, she left and did not convert, and she went and had relations with Plishtim and gave birth to Goliath. So she was sitting there, spinning thread with a spindle. She saw him, removed her spindle, threw it at him, and tried to kill him. She failed to do so. She said, "Oh, bring me my spindle." Oh, that sounds good. Bring me that switch so I can spank your butt. Yeah, the old timers, huh? Getting in trouble with CPS. He threw the spindle and struck her on the top of her brain and killed her. So why do we need to hear that she's the one who attacked him? There were no guards to stop him. If there were guards, it's much more of a foe. And why does he have to kill her? Can't he just knock her out? What's the situation there, or the metaphor? Isbibnov saw Avishai. He said, "Now they are 2, Dovid and Avishai, and they will kill me." He threw up Dovid in the air and stuck his spear into the ground. He said, "Let Dovid HaMelech fall upon it and die." Avishai said the name of God and suspended Dovid HaMelech between heaven and earth, so he would not fall. The Gemara asks, why didn't Dovid HaMelech say that pasuk? A prisoner does not release himself from a prison. Requires someone else to get him out of prison. So the question is, it's not the same as a prison. Dovid HaMelech can't speak out loud to get himself out of this magical spell, this conundrum. Why is it that a person is bound to someone else's curses. And why is it that Ishbibnov said, because Dovid and Avishai are here, they will both kill me? I mean, isn't he a giant? Can he fight them off? Isn't Dovid HaMelech could be inferred from Pesukim that he's small? Didn't they both have their entourages? So here's where we're going to pause, and we're going to try to give Pshat, work through it, God willing, and then finish the Gemara. Okay. So I believe Pshat's like this. A prisoner does not release himself from prison. People have emotional problems, psychological problems, and they themselves cannot totally work on it. We need the help of rabbi, therapist, family, friends. Furthermore, we need to change how we relate to the outside world. As great as our family is, our community, likely they give us certain habits or attitudes that we need to dispel as part of our individuation process. As part of our process of growing up, we ourselves need to get help and change. Ashmedia is the inner Yetzer Hara, so to speak. Ishbibnov is the outer Yetzer Hara, so to speak, the outer negative relation that we have to the world and to people. When Ishbibnov sees Dovid and Avishai, there's two of them, and now they can kill me. That means that now that I have challenges, now that I have a friend to support me, I am stronger. There was the Baal HaSulam, Reb Yehuda Leib Ashlag. He had his disciples pair up, not just in the Beis Medrash, in the study hall. In their real lives, he would have a buddy system whereby they would have a support and accountability for each other. How you doing? What's going on? Checking on each other, support each other. There's a saying in the army, 1 is none, 2 is 1. You can't break that bond if there's two people. Avishai, my father, lifts me up. Ishbibnov, Ishbibnov. There is a man in me. It is a Satan. It is a negative influence. Benov, Beniv, Sosfayim, speaking. The Navi, speaking. What makes us humans is we're a speaking spirit, right? The Targum says in Bereshis. Man is created, speaking spirit, relate to the world. Speaking improperly, connecting improperly to the world. What does it mean when he kills Orpah? Orpah was extremely inappropriate woman. When people are in a cult and they leave a cult, they spend their whole life fighting against it. Orpah thought she was in a cult, but it was just good Judaism. So she spent her life to be against it. Orpah, she showed her back to people. She couldn't be bothered. She was disdain for humanity. Killing Orpah, a person has to stop what we call the multi-generational transmission process. Stop the bad habits from the previous generation. I mentioned Murray Bowen before, and of course we got to put it through our Jewish filter, but he was the first real family therapist, godfather of family therapy, starting in the 80s, starting in the 50s, kept researching and writing till the 80s. He interviewed thousands of families. He noticed that in a very deep way, families pass on habits and attitudes and emotions from one generation to the next. It's more obvious to us nowadays, but it's still deeper than we think. Sometimes people are like, oh yeah, depression runs in that family. But also, it's not just genetics, or we know about epigenetics now. Certain habits in the family, certain ways of behavior pass along that set of symptoms, depression. So we know more about passing along problems, like mother like daughter, like father like son, but it's extremely deep and elaborate, and we're in denial about our problems. A prisoner cannot get themselves out of prison. We are naturally in denial, as Freud taught, and the Torah accepts us a certain amount. We don't want to look at our character defects. We have to study Musar, work with ourselves, our rabbis, our mentors, our coaches, to uncover those things as we can accept, as much as we can accept at once. And that will help us change ourselves. So Ishbibnov, the issue is the man inside of me, the Yetzer Hara. We must stop the multi-generational transmission multi-generational transmission process. Easy to say. Stop the Orpa connection to the previous generation. And Avishai, take my father can lift me up. Take those assertive components, push through, create distress tolerance. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. There's nothing to be anxious about but anxiety itself. Push through those feelings and feel better. Work on the background so we can go through therapeutically and actually push through. And it doesn't have, moms get a bad rap in families for causing problems. An absent dad is just as damaging as a present mother. We're just talking about no sin and macabre. Pushing through to have influence is a commonly masculine trait. Doesn't mean moms are all the problem, okay? But here, highlighting that moms are usually around kids more, and they can cause some very deep habits. You can have 95% great feelings from the mom. 5 things can pass down a bad trait. 5% bad trait that's very sticky with the kid. It could be an issue with the father. Avishai, we have to lift up those fatherly attributes. Fathers could be around less of the time, but that energy he gives to the family could be very negative. Has to give positive energy. Okay. And so when it says that they were suspended in the air, this is the outward Yitzhahara, which is Isbibnov, saying, oh no, this human that I'm trying to mess up, he's getting better. I got to exert more effort on him, get him to drink more, get him to be eating more anxious. But when you have God's name, when you do a stopgap measure, you can pause the damage. If people go into Alcoholics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, people studying religion, throwing themselves into religion, this can be a great stopgap, temporary measure to stop things. And then a person has to go and heal the inner Ashmedia and the outer Ishbibnov. Okay, let's go back into the previous steps of the Gemara. All right. So, Dovid HaMelech going hunting. There's a great piece by the Margolius Hayam, who has a special commentary on Sanhedrin. He writes about how many commentators say this is a trait of Nimrod and Esav to go hunting. It's not a Jewish thing. He brings a tshuva of Noda B'Yehuda that it is mutter, it's permissible to go hunting. It's not sar b'alechaim, unnecessary suffering of animals. If you put the animal out of its misery or let the animal heal, it's not bal tashchis. If you sell it to a non-Jew or you let the animal's healed, so it's not a treifa, then you can eat it. No problem there. But getting into the topic of, at what point are you bittul zman, wasting time? At what point are you going to? There could be 2 problems. At what point are you going to a non-Jewish event to see suffering and violence? At what point are you going to a non-Jewish activity, non-religious activity, and it's just wasting time? Now, I want to pause here because people get very strict, a lot of self-criticism. It is permissible for a Jew to go do certain activities to relax and take that time and not look at cheerleaders and not do this and that, and they won't be tempted. Speak to your rabbi, speak to the proper people to get advice. Not every outing and stadium and behavior and even hunting is a problem. In general, we need hunting in the United States because the animals will overrun things. So it's highly political, emotional, but everyone chill out. But the point is here that Achronim are pointing out that Dovid HaMelech was likely doing an activity that was not something he shouldn't have been doing, whether it's the time or the style of it was more about the style of the action. So this is the nature of Yitzhahara. Dovid HaMelech getting too much like Esav and Nimrod when it comes to being a mighty warrior. Satan comes and appears. So Satan is Yitzhahara, is Malcham Avis. Dovid HaMelech reaching. Oh, I want to go after just a little bit of Gashmias, a little bit of conquering. Can't reach it. A little bit of conquering, can't reach it. The nature of the Yitzhahara is you always want more. Check out the Ramban or Laharbos Harav al Tzamea. It's very graphic there, and Dovid HaMelech didn't do those things, but it's the nature of the Yitzhahara where if you have enough and then you stop, it's satisfied. If you have more, whether it's taiva or gaiva or conquering or kina, you just want more. This is the nature of the Yetzer Hara as we relate to the world. Want more, want more, want more. Go to the land of the Plishtim. The Plishtim are the Midah of Gevura in the wrong way, opposite of Yitzchak. They're not healthy boundaries. They're mufulash, Plishtim. They're open. Oh, we're going to be wide open. Who has boundaries? And then they have cut off boundaries, violence, when they want to get ahead. Dagon, the money god. Check out my Shoftim series when they're talking about the Plishtim and Dagon. They're all about that money or the grain. Give me the shkarol. Give me the grain. Give me the cabbage, the wheat. Give me that money. So the Plishtim, unhealthy attack and self-control, Gevura. And as I said in the Shoftim series, we're attacked by nations when we're supposed to learn the attribute of that nation. So here, Dovid HaMelech needs a Plishtim lesson. He needs a lesson in the self-control of the outward Yetzer Hara. Isbibnov is upset that he conquered Goliath. Just because you conquer one emotional problem doesn't mean you won't be challenged by more. If anything, you'll keep going. Famous story, Hasidic Rebbe had a dream, or his Talmud had a dream that he climbed a cliff, and there's another cliff, the same cliff, over and over. Das haste, this is the nature of life. You can have the same challenge over and over and over. Life is the same challenge over and over and over. Dovid HaMelech has to keep being the smaller guy, slaying the big bugaboos, the big monsters. He still has a shkacha pratis, even if he's making a mistake. And then Avishai ben Sura shampooing his hair. Okay, bros helping bros. Sorry to be colloquial, but okay, in the storyline, it's a miracle he finds out about his brother. But think about it. You go to your friend's dorm room. You go to his house. You call him. He doesn't see the same. The best thing you could do is to say, hey, what's up, bro? You okay? What's up? And men are not just crass individuals who don't support each other. They can be non-emotional givers. The best thing to do is actively support each other. So Erev Shabbos is a very busy time. Even when we're busy and stressed out, we have to check in with our brothers and sisters. 4 bloodstains. So I think the 4 bloodstains are the crimes he committed. Either Shaul and his sons, Doeg and the city of Nov, or Shaul and his sons. And then the dove is floating there. I think there was another Magalas Yam. I'll look it up later for another postscript. I did not bring it to work today. He knew his brother was in trouble. He knew that it's like us seeing our friend look depressed, us seeing our friend stressed out. What's going on? How can we help each other? And riding on a mule, a preda, okay, we have to conquer that which will not have fruit. Arod was the man who invented the mule. He was a mamzer, so he made mamzerus in the world. He had a horrible status, and people didn't want his lineage. He made a nasty status of an animal, breeding a horse and a donkey. So riding on a mule means we need to conquer not just the chamor physicality of this world, but we need to be a master and realize what's not going to bear fruit. What endeavors are just an endeavor of the evil inclination that will not bear fruit. Extramarital relationships. That got serious fast. Involving in activities of just a pure desire. Getting involved in talking, flirting, eating, hiding, lying. What's not going to have a fruitful outcome. Got some water there. Sorry for the jump cut. Okay, we talked about Orpah. Removing the past generation's poor behavior. We cannot get ourselves out of prison. Okay, Avishai said to Dovid HaMelech, what do you seek here? Why did you fall into his hands? Dovid HaMelech said, this is what Akash Baruch Hu said to me, that I could be erased, my descendants could be erased, or I could fall into the hands of the enemy. He said to him, reverse your prayer that your descendants will cease to exist rather than be handed to the enemy. Because it says, let your son's son be a poor peddler and sell wax, and you will not suffer. Don't limit your own expenses, worrying about leaving an inheritance to your descendants. Dovid HaMelech said, if so, help me. Together, 2 people. That is the meaning of that which is written, and Avishai ben Surya came to his aid. Rabbi Yehuda says that, Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav says, this means that he came to his aid in prayer. Avishai recited the name of Akash Baruch Hu, another sacred name of God, and caused Dovid HaMelech to land safely. And why is it Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav that said this? Rabbi Yehuda, Malchus. meaning to say that Dovid HaMelech is the king, so he is associated with Malchus in the regular sense, and he is associated with the Kabbalistic Midah of Malchus. Surprise! It's Ian Bailey later in the day. I went home to get my notes to make sure I had all the right information, and I'm glad I did. Because Rav, this is Amr Hudam Rav, is saying this Gemara. Rav's family was descendant from that of Shimi, brother of Dovid HaMelech. Ksubas 62b, boom. Double Malchus. Rabbi Huda, Amar Rav. Furthermore, in the Gemara, Isbibnov throws up Dovid HaMelech into the air, and he's going to land on a sphere. And the Margolius Hayam brings several sources that are dealing with the fact that this is sort of like a indirect murder. Not killing someone directly. You throw up an object. If you put down, Babakama, Momonos, if you put down a pillow, you move the pillow, you're not really responsible for the monetary damage, or you're responsible for murder. You're throwing something up, it's the strength of them going down, putting a spear or whatever. So for the story part of the Gemara, the idea is that it might not be murder, but for the Yetzer Hara of the world part of the Gemara, it's that our evil inclination very often will convince us that something isn't so bad for us. There might be a little bit of damage or death involved, but it really involves much more. And so too with listening to outside influences from the world, being convinced of things, it seems to be it has a taste of, a little taste of death, but it's really terrible for us. Similar to the Kisoifos Reim Lo in the Ashmedia Gemara. Why are demons greater than humans? Let me just have a little taste of demons, like I said, for nowadays. Let me just have a little bit of psychedelics, a little bit of drugs, and that'll help me out. There's going to be either no proof or a little bit of proof of certain psychedelics happening a certain amount of time, but it's certainly not all of this usage that they're doing nowadays. I will also throw in here the 300, similar to the Ashmedia Pshat. If it is a regular number, and like a Maharal style, 3 means a table. Something has a toehold on something, a steadiness, a status quo, a chazaka. So, and 100 is a major plethora of a set. So the external Yetzer Hara has gotten a hold of a person. Once a person does an avera and repeats it, then they become used to it. And that's actually the next Gemara in Kedushin, the second aggadah to Kedushin, coincidentally, that we're about to do. And if it's Spheros, 3 is Tiferes. Unhealthy Tiferes is unhealthy imagination, right brain thinking. And part of an avera is your eyes see it, you imagine it, you want to go after it. It has an obsession to it. So that could be the 300. They're taking the regular sentence, a pasuk, from Isbibnov, bringing it into the aggadah, importing it, and darshaning it as philosophical. And the metal is not a beautiful gold metal, it's brass. It's more of a physical base metal. Getting involved in the base essence of a human, the external Yetzer Hara becomes a behemoth to deal with. It's a beast, the beast within the beast without. So that is what I remembered to get from my notes, back to what I recorded earlier today. Ishbibnov pursued them and wanted to kill them. When they came to the place called Kuvi, they said, "Stand in battle against him, Kumbe." When they reached the place called Beitrei, they said, with 2 cubs they can kill a lion. 2 people together, being assertive, standing up, distress tolerance, push yourself, go against the evil inclination. They said to Ishbibnov, "Go find Orpah your mother in the grave." When they mentioned his mother's name, he diminished in strength and they killed him. Once they mentioned how they do not have that bad habits from the previous generations, this type of outward Yetzer Hara is weakened. It is after this that it is written, and Dovid David's men took an oath, saying, "You shall not go out with us anymore. You will not douse the lamp of Israel." Okay, so what does it mean the descendants will not exist anymore? Okay, I don't think exactly it was either they're all dying or Dovid HaMelech is captured. It has to do with our first question. Why is it that Dovid HaMelech being tired equals this whole story? I think the idea is as follows. To a king, the image is a lot. He needs to be shown as mighty. He's on the front lines, a Jewish king. He can't have weakness. Maybe like a mafia boss that you've seen, but Lahavdil, Alfi Abdelos. But a real Melech Yisrael, the greatest leader of all time, has to always be strong. He can't faint in public. He can't be weak. So this whole idea of him being weak, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made Hashacha Pratis, divine providence, that he would be weakened. He would need somebody else to come along. It's a message that we need other people, but it's a message that Dovid HaMelech did not need direct terrible punishment like with Bathsheba, his other Averos, direct serious teshuvah, but he indirectly impacted all these people, directly, directly. He needed to do a kapara. He needed some sort of atonement. As a famous person, he can't just go to a city and be like, yeah, okay, I'm David later, but I'm not David now. He needs to know that the dust behind him might bring Shaul to kill those people. And that's what the Meforshim say, that, or Megillas Hayam brings, that Dovid HaMelech should have told the Cohen that he met there that Shaul is after him. Then that Cohen could have said, David was here, but I rejected him. I'm not going to be with him. Then Shaul would not have killed them. Okay, it is a message for all of us. We have to be careful about our truthfulness and our direct actions. But a melech is, as I said in the 7 Ways book, 7 Ways podcast about Malchus, Shoftim series, the king has nothing of his own. He's just sort of a thesis statement. His whole identity is the nation. And even before Dovid HaMelech was king, he was anointed. He has to know his impact as the ultimate holy political official could lead to other people being harmed. Even though he's trying to run away. Bailey, he's trying to run away. No, even him running away could lead to danger. Therefore, he had to have this little punishment due to Shuvah. In that moment of fainting, he has to be shown, he's shown as weak. His descendants are weakened because of it. There is not that they perish or they are weak, but they are shown to be human. They're shown to be a Jewish king that has those sort of weaknesses. And that is a good thing in terms of repentance, teshuvah. Okay. Thank you for listening to the Yom Iyun podcast for Postscript 1 about Ashmedia, along with Isbibnov, the inward and the outward, Yitzhar Hara, that we deal with. Feel free to please send comments and questions to rabbibailey@gmail.com.